Hi again, guys. Back for the next part of Maniac Magee. All right, when we left off after chapter 1, it said he left never again to return to the house with his Aunt Dot and Uncle Dan, and never again to return to school. So right away, I have some big questions. Where is he going? He's only, what it said, his parents died when he was 3, and he lived with them for 8 years, so he's about 11. So where is an 11-year-old going to go? How does he not go to school? Who takes care of him? So I have a lot of questions when we read chapter 2. Everybody knows that Maniac Magee, then Jeffrey, started out in Hollidaysburg and wound up in 2 Mills. But the question is, what took him so long? And what did he do along the way? That's just what I asked, right? Sure, 200 miles is a long way, especially on foot. But the year that it took him to cover it was about 51 weeks more than he needed, figuring the way he could run, even then. Well, that looks to me like a pretty big hyperbole, right? Even if somebody is fast, I don't think they're going to run that fast. But the legend doesn't have an answer. That's why this period is known as the lost year. And another question, why did he stay here? Why 2 Mills? Of course, there's the obvious answer that sitting right across the Schuylkill River is Bridgeport, where he was born. Yet there are other theories. Some say he finally just got tired of running. Some say it was the butterscotch crimpets. Did you guys ever try butterscotch crimpets? They're pretty good. And some say he only intended to pause here, but he stayed because he was so happy to make a friend. Oh, okay. That gives us something to listen for as we read on, right? What kind of friends did he make? If you listen to everybody who claims to have seen Jeffrey/Maniac Magee on that first day, there must have been 10,000 people and a parade of fire trucks waiting for him on the town limits. Don't believe it. A couple of people truly remember, and here's what they saw. A scraggly little white kid jogging toward them, the soles of both sneakers hanging by their hinges and flopping open like dog tongues each time they came up from the pavement. It's a pretty cool simile. But it was something they heard that made him stick in their minds all these years later. As he passed them, he said, "Hi." Just that, "Hi." And he was gone. They stopped, they blinked, they turned, they stared after him, and they wondered, do I know that kid? Because people didn't just say hi to strangers out of the blue. Chapter 3. As for the first person to actually stop and talk to Maniac, that would be Amanda Beale. And a little secret here as we read this book, Amanda Beale, besides Maniac, of course, turns out to be my favorite character. And he only stopped to talk to her because of a mistake. It was around 8 in the morning, and Amanda was heading for grade school, like hundreds of other kids all over town. What made Amanda different was she was carrying a suitcase, and that's what caught Maniac's eye. He figured she was like him, running away. So he stopped and said, "Hi." Amanda was suspicious. Who was this white stranger kid? And what was he doing in the East End where almost all the kids were black? And why was he saying hi? But Amanda Beale was also friendly, so she stopped and said, "Hi," back. "Are you running away?" Jeffrey asked her. "Huh?" said Amanda. Jeffrey pointed at her suitcase. Amanda frowned, then she thought, then she laughed. She laughed so hard she began to lose her balance. So she set the suitcase down so she could laugh more safely. When at last she could speak, she said, "I'm not running away. I'm going to school." She saw the puzzlement on his face. She got off the suitcase and opened it right there on the sidewalk. Jeffrey gasped. Books! Books, all right. Both sides of the suitcase, crammed with them. Dozens more than anyone would ever need for homework. Jeffrey fell to his knees. He and Amanda and the suitcase were like a rock in a stream. The schoolgoers just flowed left and right around them. He turned his head this way and that to read all the titles. He lifted the books on top to see the ones beneath. There were fiction books and nonfiction books, who did it books, and let's be friends books, and what is it books, and how to books, and how not to books, and just regular kid books. On the bottom was a single volume from an encyclopedia. It was the letter A. "My library," Amanda Beale said proudly. Somebody called then, "You gonna be late for school, girl?" Amanda looked up. The street was almost deserted. She slammed the suitcase shut and started hauling it along. Jeffrey took it from her. I'll carry it for you. Amanda's eyes shot wide. She hesitated, then she snatched it back. Who are you? She said. Jeffrey Magee. Where are you from? West End? No. She stared at him at the flap-soled sneakers. Back in those days, the town was pretty much divided. The East End was blacks, the West End was whites. Well, she said, I know you're not from here in the East End. I'm from Bridgeport. Bridgeport? Over there? That Bridgeport? Yep. Well, why aren't you there? It's where I'm from, not where I am, he said. Great. So where do you live? Jeffrey looked around. I don't know. Maybe here? Maybe. Amanda shook her head and chuckled. Maybe you better go ask your mother and father if you live here or not. She speeded up. Jeffrey dropped back for a second, then caught up with her. Why are you taking all these books to school? Amanda told him. She told him about her little brother and sister at home, who loved to take a crayon and color over every piece of paper they could find, whether or not it already had type all over it in a book. And about their dog, Bow Wow, who chewed on everything he could get his teeth on. And that, she said, was why she carried her whole library to and from school with her every day. First bell was ringing, and the school was still a block away. Amanda ran. Jeffrey ran. Can I have a book? He said. They're mine, she said. Just to read, to borrow. No. Please, what's your name? Amanda. Please, Amanda, anyone, your shortest one. I'm late now, and I'm not going to stop and open this thing up again. Forget it. He stopped. Amanda. She kept running. Then she stopped, turned, glared. What kind of kid was this anyway? All grungy, ripped shirt. Why didn't he go back to Bridgeport or the West End where he belonged? Bother some white girl up there and leave her alone. And why was she still standing there? Well, so what if I loaned you one, huh? How am I going to get it back? I'll bring it back, honest, if it's the last thing I do. Tell me your address. 728 Sycamore. But you can't come there. You can't even be here. The second bell rang. Amanda screamed, whirled, ran. Amanda, please. She stopped and turned. Oh, she squeaked. She took a book from her suitcase and hurled it at him. Here, she said, and dashed into school. The book came flapping like a wounded duck and fell at Jeffrey's feet. It was a story of the Children's Crusade. Jeffrey picked it up, and Amanda Bill was late to school for the only time in her life. And that's the end of chapter 3. So I think we can already tell a little bit, if we're thinking about character traits, about Amanda and Jeffrey. Obviously, they're both friendly. They both seem as though they're pretty kind, because even though Amanda didn't really want to share the book with them, she did. They both have a love of reading. Amanda must really care about her books to take them back and forth to school with her. I was kind of surprised that Jeffrey/Maniac has a love for books so much, because I don't know how he even is able to read books anymore. He was only in school until he was 11. So he learned to read in school, but maybe he misses it. I don't know. So I'm wondering why Jeffrey has such a love for books. Maybe we'll find that out. So when we read on, we want to be paying attention to how things are going for Jeffrey now that he has made a friend. Also, is he going to find any trouble? Because Amanda said to him, you can't be here. You're white. You can't be in the East End. So I'm wondering if he's going to get into any trouble there. And I'm wondering how his friendship with Amanda is going to go. Will they end up being friends? Will they end up not getting along? How is he going to get his book back to her? So we have all kinds of things we want to read to find out. Pay attention to find out when we read next chapter. Till then, bye-bye.